Hello, welcome back to The Trek Way. I'm Trev, that's Gray. This is Star Trek Prodigy Season 2. We carry on. We continue. We are doing a couple of episodes today. Episodes 15 and 16 because we're a two-parter. So it makes sense to do them together. Ascension Parts 1 and 2. And Gray, I think we've got another hit on our hands here. That is,
Yep.
We've gave it a high score again, and you thoroughly enjoyed this two-parter as well, did you not?
Yep, I did. It's funny when you see so many two-parters because they obviously didn't want to make an hour-long episode because that's not the format.
Yeah.
But obviously it easily could be an hour the way the two parts fit to each other, and they do that as well on other two-parters. But hey, I don't care what they do as long as it's good, and it's been really good. I have to ask you a question though before we start though, because
42.
I'm sorry.
42.
No.
No.
42.
Okay,
But you had said something, or you had texted something to me that you heard that the rumors were that Netflix is pleased and there might be a season 3. I haven't heard anything on this, so
Yeah. Well, take it with a pinch of salt. The sidetrack guy who hears some things on YouTube's. I always take these things with a pinch of salt, no matter who says them.
Sure.
The internal talk was that they're very happy with the viewing figures for Prodigy, especially season 2. And there's a good chance they're going to ask for a season 3 to be made. I don't see why Netflix would say no. Paramount would say no to that because they don't need to fund it. So I mean, it's been stellar so far. It really has been excellent so far. I'm really surprised.
Good thing about usually if Trek is good, Trek has repeated watchings, and that's something that Netflix really likes too. They like people to tune in, but they really like people to watch it over and over again.
Yeah.
And with this kind of Trek, the Trek audiences usually go through it at least twice, if not 3 times.
That's true.
And some people more than that. So that I would tend to believe that because it's so good. If it wasn't this good, I would say we only have a so chance of seeing a 3rd season. But this has been very, very good. And you notice an article I think I posted in our Discord. There was a comment by the writer, and he was like going bananas about the animation, just like I was. I mean, it's just too good.
It really is,
especially when you're dealing with stuff in space or even some of the sets. See, I'm calling them sets, even though technically they're not sets. In the animation look really good. I mean, they look sharp. They look real. I mean, I would love to be able to talk to the animators. Maybe we can get a hold of them one day and put them on the show. That would be kind of cool.
That would
Just
be
to talk from an animation standpoint.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll work on it, ladies and gentlemen.
We're still waiting for you to get Michelle Forbes to come on.
I know, I haven't given up, but that's going to be tougher than getting the animators, probably.
Probably. But yeah, anyway, so just quickly before we start, just the usual paperwork out the way. If you do like Star Trek or gaming or entertainment, cover a wide base of things, please come across to our Discord at discord.gg/Extreme Gaming Podcast, or just search on Google for Extreme Gaming Podcast Discord, because we have a room in there. We talk about Star Trek. We talk about Star Trek mugs on occasion as well, that Grace just showed for our audio listening folks. And it is gaming, or originally was gaming focused at Discord. We do a gaming pod every week as well, Extreme Gaming Podcast on the Twitch. Although we're looking to expand that a little bit more to other platforms, so watch this space. And last but not least, Gray's Green Room, which has touches of Star Trek in it on occasion, sci-fi stuff related in there, shenanigans going on in Hollywood, what's cool in the streaming universe, and all that good stuff. And an episode of that will be coming soon. That's Gray's Green Room and audio podcast and platforms, and on the YouTubes as well. So yeah, we'll kick off with this, Gray. It's a two-parter. We'll just cover it in one go. Very, very much enjoyed this one here. It was a bit of a roller coaster, if I'm being honest with you. As in, you have to take a breath sometimes and go, wow, right, we're already finished. One episode of this too, really? But yeah, it's good nevertheless. So, Mr. Dal is learning the ways of Nova Squadron. Remember the young whippersnappers that are excellent pilots that have Michelle in their ranks. and they are practicing their flying maneuvers. And they actually invite Dal along, Gray, which I'm kind of surprised about. I thought that would be down to captains, commanders, whatnot, to order them to take part or not take part. I didn't know it was up to Nova Squadron leaders, but what do I know?
Michelle was the only one that invited him, because the other two were like, oh, I don't know, why did you invite him? He's not qualified.
No, why is he here? Because she said because. Yeah. Do you think there's going to be a tug of war between Michelle and Gwen for Dal's heart? Do you think that's going to be? Is he going to have like two tricks on the go?
She still seems to be very enamored or friendly with Zero. So I think that's going to continue. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic kind of thing, but it is what seems to be a very growing admiration. I guess would be akin to like a brother-sister kind of thing.
So,
or something.
So the Prodigy orgies out of the question then?
No, well, I don't know, because, well, we don't want to say. Never mind. We'll get into it later. I could tell you what we'll give it away for now.
Thank you for coming up,
That's not what you
folks.
think, everybody out there. Get your mind out of the gutter.
No. There's no X-rated trick yet. I'm hoping for that one day.
Yeah, right.
so many jokes, so little time.
It'll be Star Trek X.
Star Trek.
Wait a minute.
Is Ponfar a game? What?
No, it's Ponfar every week in that case.
Moving on swiftly. Boy. So poor Zero. I mean, I like all the characters, I really do, but I do like Zero as well. His body's failing him, as we know. It was really letting him down. And the doc may have a bit of a nice backup solution, which would involve Jankum, because he knows Jankum's a bit of an engineer. Percussive maintenance. He hits things until they work. I love it. And he wants Jankum to basically lead that project to make a new body for Zero. I kind of knew that was going to happen, Greg. It was alluded to in the previous episode. And that's the only way really forward, especially when we get to a bit later on, when blah, blah, blah. So I'm seeing a beautiful friendship between Zero and Jankum, and so are you. Like, Jankum's a bit uncomfortable with positivities and nice remarks towards him. He doesn't really know how to handle it, but they are becoming like best pals now, aren't they? I would say a mutual respect, maybe. You say
I think what's nice about the series is that even though there's some of the members that might be closer to others, they still are, and it's always been this way in Star Trek, which is nice. They're a family. Yeah. And that's the whole point. I think they lost sight of that on some of the other newer Trek, but it's always been that way. Since TOS and onward, there's always been a family of sorts, and this is what they are. And so they all want. I mean, the interaction I thought between Zero and Jankum was very nice. She wanted him to oversee the project, not just because she knows how smart he is, but because it's her friend.
His friend.
She's part of the family. So she trusts him in
his friend.
And stuff, and that was good.
His friend.
Jankum was funny. He goes like, "Oh, Jankum," and he's kind of getting embarrassed, like, oh.
Gray's stuck in his ways.
The first time he didn't know what to say. He always says something. He didn't know what to say this time. He's like, "Boop, boop, boop."
Gray's set in his ways. It's I don't know if it's the age thing or whatever, but getting the he and the she mixed up, you're going to get us kicked off of YouTube.
Whatever.
I know. It sounds like she, but it's a he. But yeah, I know.
Well, it's because when they first introduced Zero, I assumed from the way the voice was that it was a girl, so that got planted in my mind. And then when we find out it's the other way around, it's kind of like bink, bink.
Not allowed to assume anymore, man. That's it. It's just game over. No assumptions. That's it. They're in the bin. So yeah, no, that was a nice little scene between them. Speaking of nice little scenes and catch-ups, this was overdue, I think. I wanted to see and hear this from last season, never mind just now. And that was a catch-up between Janeway and Chakotay. As they're just making little kind of comments. Like Chakotay was talking about future Admiral Janeway time traveling to save their bacon, And Chakotay does make a good point, Gray, that Janeway, future Admiral Janeway, who no longer exists, time traveled back to save Voyager, and that Chakotay is going to time travel to save the Protostar. So it's kind of full circle a little bit.
Yeah, kind of completing the loop.
Which is ironic because that is, I've not read them, that's a list of books for what happens after Voyager gets home. They take Voyager back out again to the Delta Quadrant with the new, is it the Slipstream drive? I always forget what it's called. Yeah, and they take that out to do proper first contacts and follow-up contacts, and it's Chakotay that I think takes it. It's called the Full Circle Fleet or something like that. There's the more than one ship. So yeah, that was kind of cool. I love the throwback to Voyager and the old characters, and I think you did as well. Great. It seemed and it sounded. I mean, it's more difficult to tell with facial expressions. You can't really see that as well in animation, of course, but certainly from their voices, it just sounded like that's still the captain and first officer getting along famously as they always did. So
yeah, in animation, the voices become more important than in live action to convey the emotion. But to be honest with you, even the animators got it down because they are really doing a decent job making the face be expressive, and stuff. So you kind of get the feel between that and the actors. But I think like you said, it seemed like the Beltran and Kate Mulgrew just like it's like they never got off the Voyager. They were just blending together real fast. Well, whereas we had commented before that the Doctor sounded a little cardboard, and now he sounds perfect. I think because he got used to it. Some people don't, it's not an easy thing to make the transition.
No.
Just, but if you're a good actor, you would think, oh yeah, you could do it both. Well, no. There's some good actors that just can't get the hang of doing voiceovers for animation, and others that are the other way around.
Yeah. And
still others that can do both like it's nothing.
Yeah, we touched on that before, I think, and it is a very valid point. I would, I think they're all doing a cracking job at the moment. They really are, and some things are difficult to convey. So, I just like to. I was just good to see more of Beltran back because he never got enough love. I don't think after he was always maybe not the best first officer, but I liked him. He'd never done anything wrong, really.
Him too. I thought he was great. He was a good person to play off Janeway. I mean, he was.
And later in this episode, I don't think none of us have noted it down, but they're definitely got a thing for each other, which, because they keep talking about the farm in Indiana, like as if they're both going to retire there. And I'm like,
remember
whoa.
Last week I was sitting there going like, when's the kissy face going to happen? But
they won't.
It looks like it's going to get close, but it doesn't happen.
I don't think, because it's a kid's show, so I don't think it will.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking. If it wasn't, you might have seen a little peck on the cheek kind of thing.
Well, that could be the first episode of Star Trek X.
Well, hey, look, there's season 3 if we get it right. So,
true.
Who knows?
So yeah, nice little catch up between them. And then to bring it back down and spoil it, Admiral Dick comes along. Jellicoe, sorry, I get mixed up all the time with that guy. Just by default, I write that. Admiral Jellicoe's back, rears his ugly head once again. It seems most of the time, certainly, at least majority of the time when he turns up, Gray, it's bad news. He doesn't turn up and be like, listen, hey, I'm ordering you to go to your farm in Indiana, or I'm ordering you to go on this cool little mission here. It's no, you can't do this, you can't do that. Come back here, come back there. The guys never get any bloody good news, and he's basically telling them all to return home. He's going to reassign the mission, and the temporal division back home will take over. That's still bad news for me, Gray, because those people are the best people to be dealing with this. Why is he such a dick? What's his problem?
He has to play that role, but the advice that he gave, and this is what I liked about what the writers did. The advice that he gave was actually the right advice in this situation, and even they were agreeing with it, even as much as they do.
That's a good point, Gray. They all say we kind of have to agree, but
right, But the thing that's nice about how the writers handled this, which I'm very impressed with, is that I was thinking like, all right, so they're doing the right thing, much as they don't like it. It does make sense. how are the writers going to turn this one around? And they actually did turn it around to where, as we're going to talk about in a second, how they were able to actually turn that around and get it back involved and back on track to where it should be, all because of the way the writers thought of how to do it. So
how did they get it back on track then for the viewing public then?
Well, you had to come up with something had to happen that's going to make things change everything, so that it can't be done the way Jellicoe wants, because something has interfered and radically changed everything, and that's what's coming up right now on the next thing.
Yep. As we move on, Gwen, who we don't really, I haven't had a lot of her recently. She gets called up to the bridge, and she gets a call from her old man, her dad. I wasn't expecting this at all, man. I wasn't either. What? He's like, I've almost got a vibe. He was on the computer from was it the probe or the shuttle? I'm trying to think. Yeah, he was. I think it was. There was something Starfleet on that planet. I think it was. Mm. Yeah, it was. It must have been the down shuttle from beforehand, and he's trying to figure out how to use it. And he's almost, is this on? It's like the old man syndrome, man. Like, pressing. Can you hear me? Is there anyone there? Am I pushing the right thing? Yeah. What should I do? And I do love the guy that plays him. I've forgotten his name, but he was the crazy guy in Fringe, the sci-fi show, if you remember. He was the crazy guy. He's Australian, I think. Oh, yeah. He's Australian originally, but he plays a lot of voices that need a kind of British accent.
Yeah.
And he is, I love that actor, and he's very good at voice acting. So you can tell in this, he's basically saying Ascensia is taking over Solum, full blown taking over power trip now. She's turned the planet into a war machine in literally no time. Like, you're wondering how she's done this. We know why, but how she's done this and why she's done it as quickly as she does. And then the bit we're alluding to, where things change really quickly, out of the blue, a ship comes out of nothingness within space, like a portal or something, and it looks like the Shrike. I swear to God, it looks like the bloody Shrike from Picard season 3. Like starts draining Voyager's power immediately with this like beam, and Gray, it's a nitpick only. It doesn't ruin the episode, but there are 2 or 3 nitpicks throughout this that dropped it down from almost a perfect score for me, and maybe similar with you. But really, it's 80% the Shrike, man. Like, why could they have not done anything random or different? It costs the same to make that scene regardless, because it's not live action. Was it laziness?
Yeah, that was one of the only real knocks I had on that one. I was going like, they've been able to create some really cool looking ships, Protostar being one. So why not stick with, doing something a little different that's not been done before? And to bring the Shrike around, or a Shrike looking ship, it's kind of like, come on, you could have like done something a little different. It was cool. I'm not saying it wasn't a cool looking ship and everything in the course of the episode, but it's just, you felt like all of a sudden you're watching another movie or something different, and you just want to. They should have just come up with a little bit more originality on that.
Yes,
but oh well.
Well, saying that's been in the can for a while. Prodigy season 2, right? I don't know who done it first, because maybe they created that and done that scene before Picard season 3. It's possible.
Yeah, but a lot of times it's possible, but I kind of doubt it. I think a lot of times they'll have drawings of stuff that, storyboard drawings of what things look like before they actually start to do anything. So unless that was a heck of a coincidence, I don't know. Now maybe it was the other way around. Maybe they saw this on Prodigy, and Prodigy was actually first with the ship. Not really sure. I tend to believe that wasn't how it went down.
Somebody copied someone.
Yeah, exactly.
The plagiarism, I think they call that, and you get points knocked off your exams for that.
Well, at least it was plagiarism within its own universe, Star Trek.
That is true.
As opposed to outright plagiarizing it in some other show.
It's not illegal, but it's a bit sus.
Right.
Yeah, no, this
It's
ship.
just like nobody out there is going to come out with a ship that looks even remotely like the Enterprise, because you immediately kill the validity of your show right there.
Yeah, well, they could have done something original. Like it's just something random. But I get maybe why they've done that. They've seen it before. It is menacing as hell. It does do its job as a bad guy ship. It's just not practical to make a ship looking like that, because in space it doesn't really matter the dimensions of your bloody ship.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, just a nitpick. It was cool. You see it come out of like a portal thing. And let's say it starts at. I thought it was like hitting Voyager with a phaser, but it starts draining its shields. You're seeing that more and more in Trek, actually, in sci-fi. Don't go straight in for the pew pew, because shields are really powerful. Just go in with a weapon that starts bloody draining them, and then the ship's intact for you to take after, which is what you want to do a lot of the times. You actually want to take the ship in one piece.
It's like a parasite.
It is a lot. Yes, actually, that's a good analogy. Yeah. But bear in mind, we've got the Protostar there along with the Voyager A. So then the Protostar starts getting hammered, because they know the bad guy ship knows it needs to take that out pretty quickly. And spoiler alert, it is Ascensia in that ship. She is the one that's came through with this ship, and that's linking in with what's going on the planet Grey. Like how she gets all this tech as quickly as she does, how she's got the planet ready for war as quickly as she has. Everyone's confused. It's slowly but surely starting to make some sense. So yeah, like they know they have to basically hammer the Protostar and take it out of the equation. So this is when they decide to break Jellicoe's rules, or his orders, sorry. And Chakotay takes the kids to the Protostar so they can get away, split up. And then Dal agrees to be a Nova Squadron pilot, because they are outgunned, even with these two ships. This Ascensia ship, I don't even know if we have a name for it. I don't think we have a name for that ship, do we? The enemy ship? Not yet, anyway.
If they did, I don't remember what it was called.
The Shrike Mark II. We'll call it Shrike Mark II.
Yeah.
The Big Shrike. The Big Shrike and the Wee
Shrike. And the Shriek.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
By
that's
the way,
so
now,
bad, it's good.
The crew didn't disobey Jellicoe's orders. This is what I was talking about with the good writing. An incident happened, and Starfleet tells you that depending on the incident, you need to take care of the incident first. And so the incident arose to where they can't just sit there and go like, man, we're not going to do anything and help you and worry about our people. We're just going to leave. So they can't. They're stuck in the middle, and they have no choice. So
true. I guess. I guess I was going to jump ahead. I don't want to jump ahead, because they do have plans of what they're going to do, and that wasn't to go back home, because they could have broken up the fight once they eventually do that, and then followed out at Jellicoe's orders, but they didn't. So at one point they do break his orders, kind of, just not then. So yeah, like the Protostar's getting hammered. Dal's away to be a Nova Squadron pilot. He's kind of exaggerating that he can fly. He can fly fast. Doesn't mean he can fly well. And they do like that, because they're splitting up the crews to their OG crews again, their OG ships. They are going to be strength in numbers, great, because the Big Shrike type ship sends out fighters. We're seeing this more and more in Trek as well. We're seeing fighters being launched. It's like something at a bloody Battlestar Galactica. The ships don't take each other on as much, because they're wanting to keep the ships intact. So they send out their fighters to actually do their dirty work for them. And there's a lot of fighters on this ship. It's massive, to be fair. It's big bloody ship.
Like 40 or more of them coming out at one time. I mean, remember the original thing for Star Trek back in the 60s was that they did want to have fighters because it made sense. Same as in the Navy. The Navy, you have bigger ships. What do you have out in front? You have destroyers and other ships.
And a lot of sci-fi, there is fighters.
Exactly. But there was no way to do it with that kind of money, which wasn't there, so they just didn't bother.
Yeah.
But later, especially with animation, because you can do it much easier with animation, you can have the fighters, etc. In fact, one of the first series, I don't know if it was the first series, but one of the first series in television to even use the concept of fighters was Babylon 5 in the 90s, because their ships actually had fighters. And they also did a unique thing that no one had ever done before, that when the ship rotates and builds its own gravity. So how do they launch the ships? They launch the ships by utilizing the gravity that
You're talking about
produced
Discovery.
by dropping the ship.
Discovery.
They were just
rotates.
dropping the ships. The ships didn't fly out. They would just drop them like this.
Yeah.
And they would just drop and being thrown out there by the gravity of the
How did they drop them, Gray?
Like this. Beep, beep, beep. Think of the claw when you pick up a toy and you let it go. There you go.
Yeah. I'm not used to seeing that in Trek, so it's a bit weird for me. Trek was always unique that the ship's done the fighting, and that's always the coolest fighting. It really is. But it can be very dull and end quickly if two big, powerful ships are just blasting each other. It's almost like a game of my football sometimes, where two teams that are massive play each other and ends up in a draw. Because they cancel each other out, who's making a move first? Who's going to risk something? No one. So, Gray notes here that he loved the writing here because the kids basically get to become a crew again, don't they? And a family back on the Protostar. Chakotay acknowledges that. He's like, you guys are a family. You guys have done this before. He's saying your ship, our ship now, rather than my ship. Because they were a crew after his crew, or before his crew. It's timey-wimey again.
Time bubble thing, yeah.
Timey-wimey.
The timey-wimey, yeah.
And for those that remember, I think it's tomorrow, the Star Trek panel, San Diego Comic-Con kicks off.
Comic-Con, yeah.
And they're going to have the lineup between Alex Kurtzman and Moffat.
We're supposed to see a sneak peek of the movie too. Supposedly.
Sorry, I was giving you
31 or whatever.
I was giving you the lineup of the two big people there, and Gray interrupted me. I'll try that again. Alex Kurtzman and what's his name? Russell T Davies from Doctor Who. They're coming together, international friendship thing. I think they're going to announce something. Please announce something. I will die happy if those two universes ever cross.
Alex Kurtzman doesn't get involved beyond that. We're good.
Not everything he's made is awful, but most of what he's made's not been great. Yeah, true. So yeah,
that's the stuff he doesn't partake in as much.
That's true.
Prodigy.
That's true. He runs the whole thing. He runs the whole thing, but he has minions under him that do stuff. So, the writing is pretty good. How we're bringing the separate crews back together again. But before the kids run off to the Protostar, we have a brown alert. Gray, Rock. I actually literally wrote that. We remember Bribble, the little hybrid Rock Tribble thing. It's still there. Thing, yeah. It's still kicking around. It's not died yet. And Rock asked Commander Tyces, can you keep an eye on this? And Tyces, been the big alpha male that he is, he's like, yeah, sure. There you go. You look after this. Just literally about the same time that it shit in Rock's pocket, and that's not supposed to rhyme in purpose. It literally shits in Rock. Basically, she thinks it's shat in her pocket. So yeah, messy business.
So did he crap little tribbles, or how did that work?
I mean, I don't want to see little pebbles. Who knows? So their plan of attack is, they do have a plan. It's Starfleet after all. They're going to use the Nova Flyers, Mark IIs, no less, designed by Mr. Tom Paris, of course. He built the Delta Flyer. He builds the best shuttles. To get in.
They didn't have like a little video of him like teaching them about. Should have been. Then we could have seen Tom Paris.
They couldn't afford it. They've had him in lower decks already. Too expensive. Or maybe had Beverly Crusher. Yeah. So yeah, too expensive. So because Voyager can't get a lock on, because this is like, see when an enemy ship locks on you and tries to disable things, right? You don't see it enough where the ship that's trapped starts firing back to try and break the beam that's holding them, And it's not always possible, but they think, let's fire quantum torpedoes, because by default it's quantums now. I love it. That's the way it should be. They make cooler noises as well. Who prefers the photon over the quantum noise? I prefer the quantum or the photon torpedo noise, but I love it.
We have to go back though.
It's iconic,
because there's the photon sound in the original. Then there's the one that was in the movies, like Khan, which is much better. And then we have the quantums too. So it depends.
I like them both. How about that? Yeah. So yeah, like the Voyager is can use its torpedoes, but it can't get a lock on because this Shrike-looking ship is using some kind of temporal. It's got some kind of temporal shielding. Yeah, some timey-wimey. Yeah, something like that.
Which is okay. That makes sense.
It's a good line to write to how they can't lock on. So they'll use the fighters to get closer to be able to scan it better, the ship, and relay the coordinates back. That's smart. That's smart writing, smart thinking. I'm happy with that. And it was kind of Dow's idea. This is Dow's idea. Like, fair play, like, respect. This is why, by the end of the season, if they're not automatically in Starfleet Academy, I mean, to be fair, they should be pushed up to the last year of it or made bloody ensigns, if you ask me. They've done amazing. You know, they have to do something. Really good. What do we think of the animation, Gray, for the fighting scenes? I'm a fan. I prefer live action, of course. I'll always prefer live action, but this is a close second for me.
I mean, I thought it was a very close second because I thought it was excellent. And again, this is where animation shines, because if you sit there and have to do that in live action, it's going to cost probably 2 to 3 times the budget. But they can get away with it in animation much easier. And I would never say that, except that the animation is so good that it's totally believable when you're watching it. I mean, it really is. So I was just like, wow. That's why I'm excited about that style of animation, because if they're smart, we hope, and they start changing what they want to do with Star Trek, there's a lot of things you can do with that type of animation style.
Yeah.
Like we had discussed before, and a lot of things you can do with the other actors that are getting older, but their voices are fine. I'm telling you, man, we could see everything we've ever wanted to see if they were smart. I wish we were running things, but oh well.
It's a set cost. Once they start making it, they've already got the actors agreed. They're animating for 22, 24 minutes, regardless of what they're putting in. So, I'm not an expert in this. My common sense tells me that that's just a set budget for them. Whereas if they're doing live action, they have to plan ahead because they can't afford too much CGI. Excuse me.
Well, the animation period just costs a lot less than live action for lots of reasons. I'll give you just one really big reason, literally big reason. When they do live action, what do they have to do? They have to have enormous sets, and they have to be on these sets. And remember
the wall at the back. Remember it's not completely true. Remember the big LED wall thing with the TVs and stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
yeah, but still, those things are huge, and using those things costs money. That's advanced, technique. But in animation, you don't need any of that. You don't need a studio. You don't need anything.
You need a studio for voice recording.
You're in a studio for the animators, but the animators, there's only...
And the voices, you need a sound
booth. The voices are done in a booth studio.
But you don't need big sets. You don't need big sets. I think that's what you're saying, yeah.
No. And you don't need massive studios and massive green screen and massive whatever. That's a lot of money. That's like a third or a half of the budget right there. So that's what's exciting about this. I never ever would have said this because I just don't think the animation would be up to it. But when I saw this series when it first came on, I'm going like, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're doing it, but, or whatever. But it looks great. So there's just the possibilities are endless. What you could do. And I'm just hoping that maybe someone in the higher mucky mucks will realize this finally and maybe go like, oh, let's try a couple other things now.
Well, yeah, season 3 for starters would be great. And then don't bloody cancel Lower Decks, one of your most, if not your most popular show. And Gray and I will probably come back and do a special on once San Diego Comic-Con's finished, what we learned. I don't think I'll be able to show the trailers, copyright, but we'll go through them and talk about them. So that would be good, Gray, wouldn't it, if we get some juicy material. And I might come back and do a special on Tomy, who are bringing out a 1/350 scale Enterprise refit, which looks fantastic. But we'll save that for another time, I think. Definitely. So, bullshit alert, Gray. Although you do partially explain it, although, it is a nitpick of mine. we do get the coordinates from the Nova Squadron, relayed back to Voyager. As good as Kate Mulgrew is, she will never, ever beat Captain Kirk's, bless you, Gray, never, ever beat Captain Kirk's when he actually goes like that and puts his knee up and goes, fire. You know, she'll never beat that. No one will beat that, right? It's a performance. She does her best impression. She stands up and goes, fire, you know? And then the quantums come out, right? But as soon as, as she launches the quantum torpedoes towards the big Shrike type ship, I had time to go for a shower, make a cup of tea, clean up the dishes, came back. The torpedoes have still not hit the target, right? I'm obviously exaggerating, being facetious. I get that. It probably has something to do with the temporal effect of the enemy ship, because great Jesus, those torpedoes took forever to hit. No wonder the enemy ship was able to go pew 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 and actually start taking them out. Come on.
I mean, granted, the regular photons take a minute and they track their target, but quantums are quite a bit faster and a more direct route. So yeah, I was kind of like going like, wow, those things aren't moving all that fast. And I guess it was even more emphasized by the fact that they threw up a shield to prevent them from hitting the ship. And I'm going like, you're gonna have time to do that when they're on the other way.
That's a. So, like, the torpedoes are coming towards the enemy ship. They actually have time. The fighters come back and actually, as Gray says, form the shield to absorb all those torpedoes coming in. And, they could have, again, one line, I guess, said, it's the temporal effects here, everything's slower.
I basically got the writers out of this one because I came up with the line.
But they should have mentioned that, Gray. And the thing is,
they should have.
Everything, my friend, should have been slower. Everything, including the Nova Squadron fighters, should have been slower. So it didn't really make sense.
Or the closer they got to the ship, the slower they would
be
traveling.
True. I mean,
so this is something like, again, we're not brain surgeons, but we can even see that they could have done something.
To be fair, if they
we're only nitpicking, folks. The episode was great.
We're allowed to nitpick. It's a raw review. That's the whole point. If they launched these torpedoes and they just launched at normal fast speed, but the fighters were able to put up a shield really quickly, that would have made sense to me. That would have been fine. Cool. Yeah. I'd be down with that. Anyway, you need one line of writing to sum that up, basically. So, and then what we see on the enemy ship, we start to see a little bit of what's going on the inside. We see Wesley Crusher again. He's been captured by Ascensia. He's got this device collar thing round his neck. He's not looking too good, Gray. He's had better days.
Tubes leading out of him,
he looked like he was hungover. He looked like he'd been on the Romulan ale all night, and he was struggling.
Maybe that's how they kidnapped him. Maybe he was on the Romulan ale, and then they kidnapped him.
That's it. That's the best time to capture him. So, and basically, this is at this stage here. I mean, Ascensia is teasing him. This is where we discover the advanced weaponry came from. She says it came from you and your mind and what you know. It makes sense. That was good writing. I wasn't expecting that, great. Either were you, to be fair. So fair play. And that's a kind of mini cliffhanger. It leaves it on until the second part here, which we kind of dive straight back in. So this stage, Voyager is dead in the water. It's literally had all the juice completely, all the juice from the ship is more or less gone. The Protostar comes to the rescue just in time as the shields are down to a couple of % or something. It comes across, starts firing at the enemy ship. And then you get... Who is on security officers now, Murph, on the Protostar, right? And he's also doubling as the tactical officer, and he starts firing. And all you get, he can't speak English very well, obviously, and you just hear him go pew 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 pew. And I was like, yes,
yeah, no, that was hilarious. He's
yes,
going, pew 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 pew. I'm going, oh no. No,
that was epic, man.
But I thought it was great because he obviously knew what he was doing, and he was sitting there, doing proper shooting and everything. And it's like even Chakotay says, "Hey, what a nice shot." So, He's talented, even if he's goofy looking.
Talented and goofy, yeah. The guy knows what he's doing. I think there was a little acknowledgement from Chakotay as well of how well he's doing, which I like. The little guy is absolutely brilliant. Great notes here. You haven't really seen a starship disabled that badly since Khan. I mean, maybe you have.
The Voyager was practically adrift. I mean, they lost the shields, and if you remember, there was a time where the fighters came in and they started breaching decks, and Janeway said they're toying with us before they destroy us.
That's true.
So if you're getting several decks, literally ripped out to space, and you have no shields obviously at this time, and you're basically adrift, that's pretty bad.
It is. I mean,
and that's why the Protostar coming in at the last second was right on time, because otherwise that ship would have gotten even worse.
I mean, I was wondering what the hell the Protostar was having, what it was doing. It seemed to be like, I forgot about it for a moment.
The original mission was they needed to get out of there because they needed to save the timeline. So so that's what Janeway was saying, like, go.
True, good point.
And I'll take care of this. You get going, but they couldn't do it. And they had to come back and help them, which is what you should do.
Orders have been broken left, right, and center. That's
right.
fine.
So they decided they had to come back. One thing I did like is when the Protostar started firing, Dal's still flying one of the fighters, and so he just looks out the window and starts going, "That's my crew! That's my crew!" I thought that was cute. I like that.
His farm, really I like that as well. I did. Yeah. So we were learning more about the technology of this ship, this enemy ship. This is a brilliant name for a weapon. I must admit, this is fantastic. Ascensia orders the incursor to be fired. The incursor, right? That's a brilliant. I mean, that should be the name. That could be the name for that ship. But no, that's the name for its weapon. And I mean, this thing's weird. It's fired at Voyager, but this is after more of Wesley's thoughts are read, and then you see a little flashback of this incursor hitting Voyager, going through Voyager, and Voyager just exploding. But thankfully, it was just a scene in Wesley's head. It didn't necessarily happen. Thank God. That would have been too easy. But at last minute, bear in mind, there's no power in this ship. I found this pretty smart, Gray. This doesn't happen enough in Trek when like power's gone from a starship. Basically, Janeway orders all the thrusters, because thrusters are gas powered, aren't they? So. Or some kind of futuristic gas powered, still even in Star Trek times. So they should still work technically. And she orders them all to fire just enough to nudge. English. English is a problem. Using a little nudge to just get out of the way in nick of time. The incursor still hits Voyager, but not to the extent where it goes all the way through and explodes. So they've got a little bit of time on their hands. It's a time weapon. You'll be not surprised to hear, considering everything that Ascensia has been doing. And it's got a little kind of time bubble thing around it. I think that's what kind of destroyed it last time in the image, Gray. And this is a little bit, I wouldn't say brutal is maybe the wrong word, but it's a bit surreal. Tyses is the first one on the scene, because it looks like a giant torpedo, and it doesn't explode. So Commander Tyses is the first on the scene. He checks it out, but the shield's kind of moving. This time bubble's moving kind of slowly away from the device, enveloping the ship very slowly, and he gets caught in it. Some of his body gets caught in it, and it ages so quickly. That was. Wow, it was a bit eerie that. He gets dragged out in the nick of time. You hear Janeway say, put the shields up, level 10 force field. I didn't think that would work. I'll be honest with you, Gray. I thought, nah, this is a time-based thing. They usually don't work, but it holds it back for now. And poor Tyses is screwed. I don't think he's recovering from that one, man. Do you think he's coming back from that?
Well, the doctor said that it was gene damage, and that they said they could treat him and he'll be okay.
What was the condition called? Do you want to go for it?
They were talking. The doctor goes, it was chronometric deterioration.
Say that after 10 pints.
In other words, it's time wore it out.
It's timey-wimey stuff. Timey-wimey stuff.
Timey-wimey stuff, yes.
Yeah.
He did make a comment. He was saying, or the doctor was saying, like, we need to stop this soon, or Voyager's going to become a derelict old car or whatever, something like that. I forgot the exact line, but it was kind of funny, even though it was in the middle of this. But
it was.
It's just that he was saying something to the effect of Voyager going to the old age home.
Oh well, yeah. It's. I wonder what happened. I wonder if the doctor went in there. You know what would happen? It's a weird one. Yeah. No.
As a side note, now I know why the Intel chips are oxidizing, because they were caught in a timey-wimey. That must be it.
Completely different podcast, Gray, but okay.
Watch the gaming podcast and you'll know what that meant.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not looking good for Tysis. I hope he kind of pulls through. He'll get early retirement, full pay from Starfleet. Yeah. I think he's not in good condition. He could be stabilised, but I don't know if he'll recover at this stage. And at this stage here, I'm not knowing. I actually not having a clue where this is going at this stage. And that's a good thing. The writers are doing a good job. If I don't know what's happening, what to expect. And Jellicoe appears on the screen again. We get Jellicoe back. They're asking for help. It's the same line as always. Great. We always get this line when they ask for backup. Oh, sorry, we're weeks away, there's no one nearby. To be fair, they kind of have an excuse. It's the Romulan evacuation at the moment. So right. They are spread thin. After the Prodigy season 1 as well, Gray, where a lot of the fleet get pretty much bashed up. So are you getting a bit fed up of that excuse and line in Star Trek? It'd be nice if we had the cavalry turn up more than once in the Bluest of Moons.
The problem was they didn't call Riker. Riker always seems to show up at the right time.
He's the only one that can and does. And Gray knows here as well. He's like, damn, I want to see more ships. So do I.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see at least a couple more. Not that they. I mean, I assumed that there was gonna be, only because the size of this Shrike-looking thing is enormous. So even a couple of ships probably wouldn't have done it. But it would have been interesting just to see them try, or whatever. But they didn't want to go that far, so whatever.
Yeah.
Again, it's a nitpick. It would have been nice, but it's cool.
Zero's the brave one that has to go in and disable this weapon. Anything organic goes in, ages quickly, so that's not going to work. Zero's a legend. He knows that, the body's failing. He has to get in there. He may as well just go in and try his best to disarm this thing. Shut down the temporal field. So Jankum gets to shout, listen, make a new body quick, because I'm about to be done. And Jankum gets involved, gets on that straight away with the Voyagers. I think Protostar and Voyager both have this, I would imagine. I don't know, does he do it? I think he does it in the Protostar, yeah. He's in the Protostar in the deck that makes the new ships, the new vehicles, vehicle replicator, I think they call it. And starts making one really, really quickly before things go really, really even worse for Zero. You mentioned here, Gray, that Medusans have a very long lifespan. They do, but I don't think that's the reason that Zero volunteered. Zero volunteered just because Zero's a legend, first of all, knew the body was failing, and that new body from Jankum, is it that urgent? Because what happens if...
Yes, because...
What happens if the body completely fails? The Medusans can live outside a body for a while, can they not?
If you had watched the original TOS episode that the Medusans were introduced, if the Medusans don't have a containment suit, box, something that holds them together, then they basically are like a weird looking, almost kind of like you saw before, a weird looking gaseous, multicolored whatever.
Which is fine.
But true to their name of Medusan, if anyone takes even a slight look at the Medusan without protective glasses on, you go completely mad.
So, how about the body fails, Zero becomes a cloud of gas again, and hopefully is okay, and then no one goes in the room, and Jankum just makes the body, is not rushed, and sends the body over when he's done, or Zero comes to the body. No one has to look at Zero in the cloud form.
I agree with you, but on the other hand, they're in the middle of a crisis with people running all over the place, and I don't think they wanted to take the risk. Exactly. So taking the risk was too much. That's why he kept on saying, "I'll beam the body to you." Jankum says, "I'll beam it over. I'm almost done. I'll beam it over." So that way she could just jump into it and doesn't have to worry about hurting anyone.
True.
So that made sense to me only because I remember the original episode and why it has to be done like that. They didn't say that, so people maybe didn't know that. It would have been nice maybe they dropped a line somewhere. But again, since Medusans lived so long, at that time she was the more logical one to go in there. The problem was though, is because she was wrapped in a body, the body's given out quicker than her real being inside is giving out. And she had to crawl over there and do what she had to do, and stuff. And it's just like he had to crawl over, and terrible for him.
There's two chicks. There's Gwen.
Yeah, I know.
That's it. There's Gwen, and
I was feeling bad for him, because he's like man, he's like aging like crazy, and he's
and Rock,
do all this.
3 chicks.
And what?
There's 3 chicks. That's right. Rock, Gwen,
Rock.
and Michelle. Zero was a legend, absolute legend. And this body's already going downhill, So it is a tiny nitpick. Zero gets close to this torpedo, right? And seems to spend valuable seconds doing absolutely nothing. I know it was for effect, Cray. I know how writers working on it. That's fine. But kind of got there, kind of stood and looked at it and just go in, man. Go in quick, straight away and get this done. You're aging so quickly. Look at Tyce's. Tyce's body aged decades in seconds. And this body here, it's still biological, took a lot longer to age. I mean, that's a nitpick. It's a tiny thing. I'm not that fussed about it.
Yeah, I'm not either, because we don't know, because we don't know enough about that body and how long it can last. If the other Medusans are in the body on that planet, and obviously the body gets replenished, but you just don't know, So it was okay. It didn't necessarily need explanation per se, and stuff. But
there was
he was like aging quickly, man. Like decades are flying by, and it's like
Yeah, I have to work quickly.
When you said you have to rush over there and do it quickly, you ain't doing it quickly if you're like 200 years old already by the time you get to it.
Okay. True, no, but it's when he stopped at the torpedo, that's when there was too much time in between there, instead of moving quickly. Anyway, and the little side note as well, great notes here, and it's a very good point not to forget, it was Dal that tells his Nova Squadron fighters to actually try and think outside the box and be unorthodox, because these little fighters. Gray, why interrupting me, man?
Sorry, because I'm excited.
These fighters are still, the enemy fighters are still on the loose. They are. That's still a thing. They haven't gone anywhere. They're doing their thing. But they're matching everything that Dal and his Nova Squadron fighters are doing, because they're AI. They're literally advanced little fighters. They know all of Starfleet's tactics. That's why Dal suggests, that's why Gray notes down here, think outside the box. Throw your Starfleet training out the window, which is very difficult for Nova Squadron to do, Gray, because that's how they think, especially Michelle. You're the best of the best. Throw it out the window and think unorthodox. And Dal is doing brilliant, man. He has 2 or 3 amazing suggestions in this episode alone. Respect to the guy. He is an absolute legend. I
have a theory though of how the little droids and everything were figuring out everything that is in the Starfleet manual.
Right.
Got it from Wesley.
Yeah.
Starfleet. Wesley knows a lot about that, and probably knows more than anyone else.
I don't know if they actually allude to that or not. Did they not allude to that? If
they don't, but I put 2 and 2 together right away. I figured it had to be Wesley, because the AI is still not going to know a lot of the tactics. It would just have to guess. Whereas this AI knew exactly what to do, so they had to pull it from Wesley.
Yeah. Good thinking.
I didn't say it flat out,
Or bear in mind, Ascensia was a Starfleet officer as well. She was only ensign level, so more likely did get it from Wesley.
Yeah.
I don't know which
between,
rank.
Yeah,
What
that's
rank
a good point. So between her and Wesley, that probably filled all the gaps.
But what rank was Wesley? I can't even remember what rank he got to. I think it was
Wesley was in a
only
squadron,
ensign.
very similar to Nova Squadron. He was pretty good at that.
But he didn't get any higher than ensign, I don't believe.
Well, in Trek he didn't, but that's part of the problem. When they got rid of the character, they never really fleshed that character out. That's the way it goes. It's ancient history now. But they've tried to flesh out the character of Wesley over time within books and other things. And I thought that this series really fleshed out the character of Wesley a lot, and which I was impressed with. You know, like we had mentioned before. So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
I'm curious to see what happens. Like when this is over, does that mean that Wesley might come back, or I don't know.
No.
Either way, even if he doesn't, I mean, he did a lot of good. He's doing a lot of good in this series here. So, you know, and I never thought that they would catch him. It was very. I would like to have known how they did that, how they're able to capture him. I mean, it's okay. I don't have to know, right? But but it would be kind of interesting.
Because he sees everything.
I've never heard about catching a traveler before.
Great, that he sees everything. It's spoiler alert for the rest of the episodes. He sees what comes ahead, and he knows all these things are going to happen. So he does. I think he does. He allows himself to be captured. That's how he done it on purpose.
Could be.
This temporal torpedo can't be shut down. After all that, Zero loses his body for nothing. Can't be shut down. But it can be the effects of it can be redirected to another Starfleet vessel.
Well, Zero figured it out.
What that is? Why another Starfleet vessel? Why not redirect it back to the source? Why it doesn't make any sense, that line. That was just weird.
Well, because the way I read it, or the way I thought was happening, was that it was directed towards a Starfleet ship, period. But once they saw they couldn't shut it down, they could reprogram it, but it could only do what it was meant to do, and that was to go after a Starfleet ship.
Yeah.
So he reprogrammed it and said, "Go after the fighter. It's a Starfleet ship," and so it did.
Well, Michelle volunteers, I think, doesn't she? To be fair,
Michelle volunteers, right?
Take one of my fighters.
The one that it follows.
Yeah.
And Dal was, with her on the other ship.
Well done, Zero, for trying. You took your time, literally, figuratively.
Technically they did, didn't it?
I like the little mention from the Nova Squadron of the Boothby supernova. Remember Boothby?
Yeah.
We know Boothby, our favourite gardener. He never dies. He just seems to keep going on and on and on and on. They mentioned
He's a lot smarter than he looked.
The Boothby supernova. They're going to use that to try and take out Ascensia's ship. As Zero collapses, like aged too much, like game over, man. So I mentioned here, like, the Protostar again seems to go quiet. Like, you don't sometimes know what's going on with it because it's back on the scene at this stage, like what's going on with it. It was drained of power as well, Gray. That is a thing. I think it just recovers quicker than Voyager did, to be fair. That supernova maneuver, the Boothby supernova, did look pretty cool. It was pretty smart. And the fighters do escape unharmed, which was a bit surprising considering they didn't take more damage. But anyway, the Nova Squadron are the heroes here because they're the ones that do the damage. They destroy the enemy ship in time. But Zero, at this stage, you don't know what's happening, what's going on.
Yeah, it was a real quiet scene because they weren't. He wasn't answering Jankum, and Jankum was thinking, "Is it too late?"
Yeah,
or whatever.
But there is a new body, that was made, and it's pretty much what we thought it was. It was going to have an upgrade on Zero's original body, like 2.0. That was pretty smart looking body. This, to be fair. You like Admiral Janeway's little speech at the end there? What is a rah-rah speech?
Rah-rah means get the crew motivated, excited, like rah-rah, cheerleader, rah-rah.
Is that what cheerleaders say?
The thing I liked about that whole speech is it sounded, again, just like she was back in Voyager, because she used to do things like that to get her crew or whatever to get motivated. And it sounded like the same old Janeway. Well, she is old, but, and she just gives up a speech again. And even Chakotay made a comment, good speech. And then she let Chakotay know that even though it was a good speech, that she was scared for the future. and
Yeah,
stuff.
you're allowed to be scared if you're an admiral. Still, you're not infallible. You're
still
a human being,
but you got to do your job.
Yeah. Conveniently enough, Voyager and Protostar are the two closest ships to Solum. They have to get on with the mission still. The Federation demands an audience with Solum, and they're the two closest ships, so they're going to be turning up and negotiating. And as I alluded to before, it turns out Wesley done the sneaky on Ascensia. He allowed himself to be captured, and on purpose, so that these events could transpire the way they do. But some things remain unanswered, like Gray says, like how he was captured and all that. But it might be down to the fact that he allowed this to happen on purpose. I'll look forward to. We'll watch some more episodes, which we'll cover after. But Gray, what did you give this two-parter out of 10?
I did 9.5 out of 10. I thought it was a really good episode. Little nitpicks here and there, but nothing that really, to slow it down at all. And I think they tend to stay consistently really good. And, we're all hoping for season 3.
Oh, fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. I also gave it a 9.5 out of 10 for the same reason. I thought like 2 10 out of 10s in one season is almost impossible to achieve. And it's just a couple of nitpicks that don't make it a perfect 10. I think it should be purposely difficult to hand out a 10 out of 10 for anything in life, really. I think people say 10 out of 10 far too easily. So I've got really high standards, and maybe I shouldn't, but I do. So yeah, 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, very, very good. We get to see some proper pew-pew because it's animated, we can afford it. And then on to the next episodes after. So yeah, we'll wrap up there, Gray. Thank you, peoples, for that. We'll be back for the next few episodes soon. But until then, say goodbye to people, Gray.
Live long and prosper, everybody. See you next time.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.